everybody. Ryan, you're muted.
I was muted. That's going to be good, and I just forgot to mute myself.
Welcome to Cloud Connect. How are you doing?
Good. Now all the thing is us helping someone look with our shaved heads and beards. A lot of people talking about it.
We look that similar.
My wife makes a joke that just because we're like, anytime it's like a white guy with shaved head and beard, they're like, oh, it's like you. I'm like, that's done. Come on. I'm more like, I guess if we were in a game of what's it called? You're flipping down people's faces. It's not Clue.
Is it Guess Who?
Guess Who? If that was the case, we'd be in trouble. Like, they could not have us both on the same board.
That was a fun game.
You'd be like, oh, he's shaved head. Okay, he's got a beard. Okay.
I've got hazel eyes. Yours look blue.
I do have blue. Now we're getting real nitpicky, though. People are going to get real suspicious if that's the case.
Well, let's get into it. We've got a fun topic today. We've got a special guest. So before we get a drum roll here, Lizzie Davis, everybody, let's bring her onto the stage here. There she is, Lizzie.
Wow, the drum roll didn't continue, Ryan. What's with that? I thought you were going to.
Sorry.
Well, Grant and Ryan
started the drum roll. I realized he had to then click a mouse button, which meant he couldn't drum roll anymore. So I'm sorry about that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, listen, I'm very impressed by the whole countdown and all the music we have going here. Some good operations going on in the back end.
Yeah. This is a serious thing.
It is.
And we both grew beards just to do this show. So,
we have a lot of fun with this. I mean, I think it's something that we've, kind of just done as a little side hobby. And, there's a lot of great, obviously, software and just ability to be at a home office and, communicate with the world. It's been a lot of fun. And we've got to meet a lot of cool people and had great conversations. And I'm excited about this one today. So maybe we should have Lizzie, you want to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit of who you are, maybe your background.
Yeah.
And then we get into the topic.
Happy to do so. So thanks for having me, Grant and Ryan. We don't get to work together regularly, right? We're kind of on different sides of the house here at Microsoft. But we've always been great colleagues to connect with at those conferences and so forth. So for those who don't know me, and most probably don't, my name's Lizzie Davis. And my technical term here at Microsoft is a modern work specialist. But what does that really mean to everybody watching? It means I'm end user productivity, right? I cover our Microsoft 365 platform. And so that really is the foundations of Office 365 plus the foundations of Zero Trust. And then in the last 2 years, and since its initial launch here at Microsoft, I've also been a co-pilot for Microsoft 365 specialists as well. So really, I've gotten the chance to be on the front edge of trying to determine how we infuse AI into our end users experience and into that Microsoft 365 experience. It's been fascinating to have, seen those very first product videos that we released, I think March over 2 years ago now, to where we are today, and what the technology can actually do today. And then, coming off of the recent releases at Ignite, it's been a fun journey. And I really have been on it from the start with my customers as we try to figure it out and get it plugged in.
Love it. Yeah. Very good. I think the fun thing, so, I think like Ryan and I have talked in the past, and I think most people know, we work with government organizations, cities, counties, and they unfortunately can't play with the fun, new, shiny tech, Copilot for M365. You were commercial, right? Commercial customers?
I'm all commercial customers. That's correct. Yep. Yeah, I'm commercial. I've got a plethora of healthcare customers. And, that's kind of where the majority of my time is spent, which is really interesting use cases for Copilot, but it also brings obviously compliance and data security very top of mind as our customers sort through the implications of PII and PHI data in utilizing AI. So that's the majority of my customer space, but I span a lot of additional industries, telecommunications, marketing services, and so forth as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan, or go ahead, Lizzie.
No, I was just going to say, it's been really interesting in the healthcare space getting to watch those customers first try and embark on their AI journey, right? There's a lot of obviously, initial tiptoeing that kind of goes in place. And I think what Microsoft has been able to do and kind of guaranteeing that enterprise grade data protection and so forth to our end users now with Copilot available to all Intra ID users has been really significant for them and feeling, better about actually letting their users use Copilot and even having it being kind of the recommended sanctioned AI tool moving forward for them.
Yeah. Ryan, I'm sure you got a ton of questions and I've got, some things I'm thinking about and obviously want to get your perspective.
I did just look at the general release. If we updated the GCC Copilot, and we have now April 2025 is the new rollout start date.
It was like July 2024 initially, right?
Well, not for GCC.
Okay. Oh, okay.
GCC was originally announced as like November.
Okay.
No, it was October. And then November, then December, now April. So, anyways, it's fine. GCC is always
way to rain on the parade here, Ryan.
I
know. Well, hey, listen, not everyone's GCC, though.
Hey, that's right.
And GCC is used to just living vicariously through everyone else. It's fine. Lizzie, you talked about the security of Copilot and making it sort of like the enterprise default. We've talked a lot on different calls with different topics about the fact that users will find a way to use a tool if they want to, right? And so how important it is, especially with now generative AI, people are going to start using it somewhere. They're going to be using OpenAI like ChatGPT or Bard or Llama, whatever Facebook or Meta is doing now, right? They're going to find a way to use those tools if you don't give them something they can use themselves. And so how does that look for you when you're talking to an organization about what their options are, right? What's the draw that you find that people find most enticing when you can tell them, hey, you're going to get this best in breed generative AI that you control and manage, right? Like what's that conversation look like to you?
Yeah, listen, I think that the point that you just made there is honestly one that I think breaks through the noise to my customers more than anything. There's a lot circulating around AI right now. Every single software vendor pretty much out there is coming to our customers and telling them, hey, we've got this AI tool, use our AI tool. But what really is kind of breaks through to my customers, and I think honestly is what is Microsoft's, competitive advantage here, is ultimately our ability to give them that guarantee that we can be that home place and Copilot can be that home brand for their AI deployment, right? Because you're exactly right. I tell my customers all the time, we are entering an era of bring your own AI. If your employees are not being empowered with their own AI tools that are properly being sanctioned by IT and they're not being kind of trained on how to do their job from an executive level down, then employees and the most creative ones are going to, and the employees we value so much are going to go and find ways to use it. And so then all of a sudden you're going to have this 100+ request list of all of these different AI tools that each individual department wants you plugging in and deploying at an enterprise grade level. Why would you not get ahead of that and you make the decision for them and you push them towards just the best general productivity AI solution? Because I'm a really big proponent of, I think, a lot of these productivity AI solutions. So I'm talking about, AI that helps to enhance the end user's productivity. In some ways, they're going to become a commodity, right? Because all of these LLMs are really good LLMs, and they're all going to be able to do those same tasks well across the productivity sphere. And so what really is going to matter most then is where that AI is getting plugged in your end user's environment. Do you want your end user confused about, when I'm in my CRM, I use this AI. When I'm, writing emails, I'm supposed to go and use this third-party plugin to my Outlook. When I'm, trying to search the web, that's when I use the free version of Copilot. Or why not give them one seamless experience, one brand that they know is their productivity tool, and that is Copilot. And so to answer your question, that has been one of the most profound talking points that I have found really sticks with my customers. And, I got the chance a couple weeks ago to be out in Seattle, actually, with Jared Spataro and his team. And that's truly, he's our director of modern work and business applications here at Microsoft, right? Kind of the face of the Copilot rollout here. And that is truly the vision they see and recognize too, that our ability to have Copilot be that brand for end user productivity is gonna help not confuse those our customers at the end of the day.
Lizzie, I got a question, and I'm not expecting you to know the answer because it's probably an ever-growing list. But do you have any idea how many third-party generative AI productivity apps are in the marketplace today? It's got to be thousands.
I would say thousands to 10,000 almost. I mean, a question I'm asked by my customers almost every day is, why would I use this when I can go and use the third-party tool, right? Because I think every single software vendor is pretty much going and trying to sell one to our customers. And at the end of the day, it always goes back to exactly what you just mentioned. Do you want to be responsible for 200 plus AI tools across your environment? Or do you want to be responsible for managing one? And now you're creating simplicity across your organization. People aren't saying, oh, well, I use Copilot for this and I use this for that. There's simplicity, and it's Copilot is the brand that is known as AI in your organization.
I mean, it's for years we've been working with organizations on trying to bring in shadow IT, lower total cost of ownership, secure environments. So for me, when I've talked with customers about this, it's man, are we just opening another can of worms of what you're going to have to deal with in the future? Again, why don't you just provide your people with something that, you have control over, you trust, what's going on. And then, to your point, let them be as productive, efficient, creative, right, as possible. So
exactly. It's I mean, from a security standpoint, it's I mean, it goes with the Microsoft vision, right, that we've had this entire time, which is exactly what you just spoke to. But it's easier said than done, right? Because AI is something that leaders are all coming to IT and coming to the business asking for. But in reality, I often see that there really is still kind of, in my conversations, 4 main issues that continue to get brought up, right, as reasons or blockers for why they're just frozen and they don't know what to do next. And they don't know, on this AI journey, what they should do next, right? That first one being, when we talk about the productivity game, it's all about how do you actually influence your end users to change their behavior? It's really hard. I mean, Grant and Ryan, let me ask you, how much have y'all done to actually start changing your behavior and using AI to make yourself more productive every day?
Oh, Grant and I are excellent ambassadors of this and use it all the time.
Yeah.
To optimize our lives. I make cool pictures with it. I ask Copilot to make pictures.
Yeah.
It does feel like someone gave me this multi-tool, and I have the one thing I do with it. I know there's other pieces, right? And I just I'll talk to them. They go, "Oh, I do X." I'm like, "Oh my god, that's incredible!" And the next day, I'm like, "Oh well, back to the screwdriver."
Yep.
Right? I'm using that screwdriver for everything. I know that's what I should be doing.
Yep. That's a great way to describe it. It is like a multi-tool right now, is the truth, right? And everyone has that multi-tool they keep in their car, they keep in their tool shed, but they really only ever use it for the one thing. And figuring out as end users how we start plugging that in more every day in different ways requires you to sit back and actually think about it. You have to really have the discipline to start asking yourself, okay, wait, before I do this the way I would regularly do it, how could I use AI to maybe do it better or quicker or more efficiently to produce a better outcome for my stakeholders? Yeah. And so it's a challenge to, actually sit down and force yourself to do that. And so what I often tell my customers, kind of trying to hit on that point, is that you really have to go and find those super users at your organization, those champions that are really passionate about AI and they're passionate about changing the business processes at your organization with AI. And so I always challenge them to find those. And then what I like to do with my customers is actually then kind of host a session with those super users where we sit down with, those. In some cases, it's 5. In some organizations, it's 15 to 30. And we talk through what are those business processes that you've changed at your organization using Copilot. And you do have to get that granular with it, because the truth is every organization is different, right? Just like how I use Copilot every day, I could come and show you guys, but it doesn't apply to most people's jobs that are on this call right now. And that's why it really takes that granular level of detail. And then we take those use cases and we elevate them within the organization. And then that leads us into my next point, which was going to be, the next challenge we really see our customers having is how they determine that ROI for the business leaders. And we now can use those processes that our super users have called out to then take that to the business leaders and say, here are the specific processes that we are saving X amount of time on, and here's the better outcome that we're driving. And you'll find if you can come up with a couple of really clear, tangible examples, it makes the vision clear. It takes the murkiness and the cloudiness out of it. And all of a sudden, it kind of unlocks that can of worms of, okay, I can see how this could really scale and become tremendous across all of our business processes.
I got a question, quick, Ryan, if you don't mind me jumping in. Lizzie, in organizations that you've seen have the most success with adoption, rollout, maybe the change management piece, like how do they do it? I mean, I feel like a lot of times when I talk with organizations, it's like, hey, we're going to get some folks in IT to try it out, maybe 1 or 2 business leaders. Then it seems like we kind of stall. Like what have you seen for having the most likelihood of success, adoption, and then really obviously like having the highest ROI possible? Because whether it's in efficiencies, whether it's in quality of life from an end user perspective, like all these different things can add up when you try to quantify ROI. So like what have you seen?
Definitely. Listen, determining the ROI here is one of the most complex parts of it, right? That's why even Microsoft internally, they haven't been able to quite arm us fully with what that tool should be, because it's so unique to each individual business. So what I really lean on and what I often point my customers back towards is actually the blog post done by Jared Spataro through our first year of adopting Copilot at Microsoft. So if you guys haven't seen that, I think it's a really strong post kind of outlining the key things that Microsoft did to help push AI and kind of Copilot evangelism across the organization, right? And that blog post, one of the main things that I take away from it is that they talk about how they placed and really focused on AI strategies in organizations that would drive a really big impact initially. And then when you hear that, what does that mean? Well, to me, that means in users that have the most kind of tasks day in and day out, that the productivity can be enhanced by the simple tasks of Copilot. Sales and customer support are the 2 that come up to mind to me. And it's the 2 that Microsoft actually calls out in that, right? Because as salespeople, what do we spend most of our day doing, right? We spend most of our day in meetings, calling people. We spend most of our days emailing. We spend most of our days not remembering all of the different emails and Teams requests that have come in. And so Copilot provides a lot of really quick and easy wins in those types of roles. And so I always kind of let my customers decide, would we rather take the departmental focus? Do we want to really focus on 1 or 2 specific orgs and really bake out use cases there? Or do you want to do more of a widespread kind of adoption and see which departments seem to pick it up the most? But in my opinion, I think the focus on specific departments yields the best results, because then what happens is you get leaders involved, right? When you get that head of sales involved and you get him really passionate or her really passionate about it, then you're able to really have a cultural movement within the organization. And I think it's hard to do that on the wide scale, business level. So that's everything for my typical commercial customers. And then I have healthcare. And healthcare is entirely different, right? And this conversation is entirely different for most healthcare organizations. But at its essence, it's not. In that, what is Copilot doing? It's helping give back time and productivity benefits in little ways across, a doctor's day. And so one of my favorite ROIs to point back to with a doctor is, how much time are they having to spend outside of their back-to-back patient meetings? Because that's how a hospital brings in money, when a doctor is in person with a patient, right? So they do that all day long. And then what does a typical doctor do? They don't get home till much later because they have to sit there and type up all their notes and do all of their charting. Imagine if you're using and infusing AI into that. Or if your doctor is able to go and catch the meeting recap from a staff meeting because they had an important patient visit to be on. I mean, and then they're in front of their families, and you cannot take away the advantage that giving an employee back time with their families is. That all of a sudden now becomes a competitive advantage in the workplace, right? And that's a skill a practice you need to have in place for your doctors to be able to attract talent to your hospital. So I think that's where the conversation will ultimately go. When an employee is not armed with AI, they're at a disadvantage. And I think they'll one day pick hospital systems that are providing them with these tools, because I think it'll enhance productivity that much.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You mentioned previously, right? It's hard for us to try to figure out how to sell Copilot at times because there's so many different uses for it. And I feel like the ROI conversation is exactly the same. Or Grant and I talked about this before, but especially with local government, is the kind of things I would say, hey, this county doesn't have a sales team. They don't have a big sales org as part of their stuff, right? And so sometimes I'm kind of like, once you start using it, you'll figure out what the uses are in some cases. It's like ROI. If we said, here's how to determine ROI, we're going to miss probably 90% of the things that these organizations, because we've never even thought of it, they're going to save a ton of money and time on, because some person there had a great idea and figured out how Copilot could help them with that. And if we're so focused on, here are our metrics for you to review, we're going to miss all that. And so I think it's just a really exciting time to talk to people, because there's not a talk track. You can't just go, thank you for joining me. Here's my 6 slides.
Yep.
Hope you like it. Right? You
really
have to listen. It's so much of a conversation. Yeah. It's really fun to be a part of now, to see how people are interacting, how things are going. It's been a real fun time. Grant, I know we're coming up on the normal time we would end this, but Lizzie, there's something in particular that I think you talked about previously, like a different call we had, which is about making it personal. Right. That once staff don't just feel like, here is work product number 17 I have to use. Right. Yeah. Something they're going to use in their personal life. Yeah. And it becomes much more interesting to them. Do you have any examples of Copilot as a personal tool? Maybe a TikTok or something?
I see it. But absolutely, guys. I mean, to everyone watching, if you are not using Copilot, even in your personal life, go download the Copilot app for your iOS device right now, or your Android. And use it. That's right. Sorry, not just iOS. Go and download it and start using it, guys. That new app that allows you to have a live conversation. My favorite voice is the Wave voice, personally, is awesome. I have conversations with it in my Apple CarPlay now when I'm stuck in traffic driving places. I literally will just converse back and forth with Copilot. It's really quite fun. And so I have loved trying to use it in my personal life. I've actually found I was first introduced to AI first from a personal aspect, right? When we were all using that free version of ChatGPT. I used it to help write thank you cards, actually, for a wedding. I hope nobody that received one of those cards received them. But so I use it in my personal life, or is on this call, I mean. But I use it in my personal life all the time. And one example that I shared with Ryan and Grant that I made a TikTok about, and I'm trying to refigure it now so that I can put it online so it doesn't show any work related content, is that you can actually go into Copilot. And if you're a baker like me and you love making sourdough, everyone knows that's a complex process. You can send Copilot your sourdough recipe and ask it to schedule all of your steps of your sourdough recipe in with your Outlook calendar for the day. And then it's built your entire sourdough making schedule out for you. And that's something I actually do use once a week because I make my sourdough almost every Monday. And then I use it every single week. So that's a little win. But if you don't have the Copilot app, this is my plug for you to go and download it. My one last plug, and then I know we have to go, is that if you're struggling with how to use AI every day, I want you to start with 3 prompts. I'm going to send my 3 prompts to start your day. Okay. With the new features we just released in Ignite, you're going to be able to automate that process. So moving forward, these prompts can run every single day for you. And it will be the perfect way for you to just start committing to using it every day. And then that will unlock the wealth of ideas that will come from that once you kind of commit to that habit. So I know we're close to time. Grant, Ryan, any more questions you have for me today?
So I think you should, Lizzie, if you could also drop that blog post. I think you mentioned earlier, that Jared had talked about some of the ways we're using it internally. We can drop that in the comments. We can drop obviously the prompt or the link to that in the comments. Was there one more thing? I can't remember if there was one more thing you said you were going to do.
I'm going to drop my 3 prompts for you to automate every single day for you to start your day with. If you're not using it and you're trying to make it more sticky in your day, start with these 3 prompts and then it'll go from there.
I like it. Lizzie, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great.
It was fun. Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah, I think
it's such a cool service. So
I think we should kind of tee up. So our plan next week, we're going to have John, one of our colleagues with eGroup on. So I'm going to get work on scheduling that here today. So that'll be next week, Wednesday, same time, same place. But he works with one of our partner organizations, and we're going to kind of build on this topic of, okay, you buy Copilot, you start to give it out to end users in the environment. We got a lot of great partners like eGroup, Enabling Technologies, who actually then is there to like roll up the sleeves and help customers really with the adoption, with the change management, with the deployment. And I know when we were talking to him a week or so ago, he had some really insightful, use cases and stories to tell, and a few that were kind of cringeworthy of, again, why it's so important to set up the security compliance,
which
around
makes it even more important.
It's a very important part of this conversation that we did not talk about today. So I'm glad you are talking about it.
So that'll be next week. So be on the lookout for that invite. But yeah, to build off what Ryan said, Lizzie, obviously appreciate you being on. Really had a good conversation here, a lot of fun. Obviously, if folks, reach out to you, connect on LinkedIn. Continue if folks have thoughts, comments after the fact. These streams, of course, are live right now, but they're out there. So if folks, watch this in the future and you got questions, thoughts, obviously just tag in the comments and reach out to us directly. We love talking tech. We love talking GenAI. So this has been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, boys. I'm seeing double today. Bye.
All right. See ya.